Good morning everyone, and thanks very much for being here this morning on Moore Street. We're here today to launch our Moore Street Area Renewal and Development Bill, and I'm delighted to be here with my colleagues Councillor Sean Haughey, Councillor Paul McAuliffe, Councillor Deirdre Heaney, Paul McDevlin and Senator Mark Daly. And most importantly as well here today, we're really happy to have Patrick Cooney from the Save Moore Street, Save 16 Moore Street campaign. Connolly Heron here is a great-grandson of James Connolly, and Prunchis O'Rahilly there you can see, and Prunchis is the grandson of the O'Rahilly. What we've been working on for the last number of months in conjunction and in partnership with the stakeholders has been to produce a comprehensive plan for this area. Where we're standing here this morning is the birthplace of the Irish Republic, and it deserves to be treated that way and with the respect that it deserves. Now, the government were dragged kicking and screaming into purchasing the 4 properties here behind us, and we welcome that, but that is not the end of the affair. We need a comprehensive plan to deal with this historical quarter of Dublin. This is one of the most significant sites in Ireland. It is an important site for future economic development as well, and for educational and cultural development. So what we have produced here is a bill very much along the lines of what was done with regard to Temple Bar, is to provide an exact focus on this area about how it can be developed, about how appropriately it should be developed, along the lines of how we would protect our national monument here behind us, and what appropriate development should be allowed around this area. We've had very, very good cooperation from the Save 16 Moore Street campaign, who fed into this legislation here, and from our city councillors here in Dublin City. I'm going to ask Paul McAuliffe to run through some more details of the bill itself and how it would actually work. We're obviously going to be seeking support from all parties, because no party owns this site. The people of Ireland own this site, and the people of Ireland own 1916, and we want to see it as inclusive as possible. And after Paul is finished, I'm going to ask Sean Haughey, Councillor Sean Haughey, to bring you through on the developments in the City Council, and we'll take any questions after that. And of course, both Patrick, Connolly Heron and Prunchis O'Rahilly are here to make comments as well on this important piece of legislation, which we hope the government will support.
Had a proposal before us in the City Council which would have allowed us to secure the National Monument, but unfortunately it would have meant us accepting an inappropriate development. We have effectively embarrassed the government into a decision where they've had to purchase the site, and as Dara said, Councillor Haughey will deal with that. What we're doing here today is completing the second part of that. It's about an appropriate development around this historical site, and you only have to walk the laneways behind us to see the huge cultural, economic and historical significance of the area. This shouldn't be an area 10 metres from O'Connell Street that is laying in dereliction. It should be an area that's thriving, that has restaurants, that has coffee shops. The vehicle that we've used is the Moore Street Development Bill, which I drafted with Senator O'Brien. I believe we can do that if we can get cross-party support on it. It's really important that we ensure that this part of the city is an integral part of the economic development of the city, as well as, I say, the huge potential that arises from the international tourism and the economic elements around the 1916 Rising. Sean might actually brief us on the developments which took place.
As a member of the Moore Street Advisory Committee, we realised that something seriously had to be done in relation to these buildings. Obviously, the relatives, I think, were extremely important. For many years, these buildings lay derelict, and the relatives campaigned and campaigned and campaigned. Minister Dick Roche, as Minister for the Environment, declared 16 Moore Street a national monument, and that was the start of the process. But city management, in association with Chartered Land, who own all this property, even though it's in NAMA, they came up with a proposal to swap 24, 25 Moore Street for the National Monument buildings. We did not agree with that proposal. We felt that it would guarantee the destruction of the National Monument and also the Moore Street Terrace. This Moore Street Terrace is extremely important. The 16 houses in the terrace. And had we gone along with that deal, it would have guaranteed the destruction of the whole terrace. And that's the most important thing. You cannot compromise. The deal was a compromise, and you cannot compromise when it comes to our heritage and our history. And we do believe that it was wrong to facilitate a deal which would allow the construction of a massive big shopping mall around the National Monument. The shopping mall would have dwarfed the National Monument buildings. So for that reason, we objected to the proposal. And as Senator O'Brien said, we forced the government into purchasing the 14 to 17 Moore Street. But that's not enough. The next phase now is to develop this whole terrace in an appropriate way, and these are lanes of history behind us, and we need to have appropriate sustainable development, appropriate economic uses for these buildings, which will in turn be a major tourist attraction and also preserves our history. Thanks, Sean.
So I keep pinching myself to see if they're still there, which they are, and I hope the entire terrace now is saved, and that this, up to now, uncaring government will just realise how angry not alone the relatives are, but how the descendants feel, and that not alone to their memory be remembered, but the actual place where the last stand took place, which we're standing on now, which are sacred cobblestones, bloodstained cobblestones. And now that 7 million has been spent on the interpretive centre in the GPO, they have the unique opportunity now of putting a link here to the actual battlefield area, where nowhere in the world has this opportunity, through the evacuation route. So I think now is the time to do it, and I think they should take heed and do it for future generations, as it is not up to any one generation to make such a decision. This is for future generations to honour our forefathers. Thank you.
Okay.
I think it's up to Chartered Land now to go back to the drawing board. I don't believe their original planning permission is sustainable. They now don't have 24-25 Moore Street as part of that planning application. So it is incumbent on them now to go back to the drawing board and to come up with a revised proposal which ensures sustainable uses for this terrace here, which ensures the survival of the history of this area, and to come up with something, a more sustainable planning application.
Okay.
The point of the land swap deal last year was that it wasn't possible for Chartered Land to proceed with their planning application without 24 and 25, which is the City Council depot here just at the end. The key point here is now what we need is a development company that has the interests of the Irish people and the state, and that can develop it in a way with all of the sectors, public and private, in this area. And I think that's the first thing. The bill gives the power of compulsory purchase order to the development company, but it also gives a responsibility to work with the landowners in the area, as has happened in Temple Bar and other areas. So we want to work with everybody involved.
Are you saying without which previously there was to be just a straight sale with the council rather than a land swap in relation to number 24 and 25. But are you saying, I presume you're saying that the councillors won't dispose of that property in any case? And are you saying without that the planning permission is defunct?
I would say on behalf of the Fianna Fáil group we would be opposed to the sale of 24 and 25 to facilitate the inappropriate development. We voted on that once and we'll vote on that again. The second thing is that the sale of that land is for the figure of €12 million. I can't imagine NAMA releasing any funds to Chartered Lands to facilitate a sale of a property which was valued at 12 million and is far from that now. So I can't imagine the property sale going ahead. There's also serious questions around how that was processed through the council, and we won't be voting for it, I suppose.
When we publish this is very doable, okay? What we're saying, we're looking for a holistic approach for the whole Moore Street area here. This can be done. You cannot deal with these 4 buildings in isolation, and that cannot be done. It's been proven before with Temple Bar, where there's a will, there's a way, and where there's the law to back it up, that this can actually be developed appropriately for all future generations. And we're not looking for people. Heather Humphreys thinks that buying the 4 properties here and that's the job done. And she, I'd say it again, had to be dragged kicking and screaming to do that, because city councillors like our group and the city councillors and others rejected the initial deal. Last year they didn't even want to talk to us. Now what we're offering is a roadmap forward that this can actually be dealt with and dealt with appropriately with the support of all the stakeholders here, and that's why we're so delighted to have the Save 16 Moore Street group and the relatives groups here today.
Yeah, but